Greetings everybody around the world, wherever you may be. You're very welcome to this edition of Capricorn Radio. This is your host James Swagger, and for the next hour we'll be getting into some fascinating topics. But before I do, you can check out the links for the live shows at capricornradio.com. We also have a new members area there. You can check out the full MP3 archive at capricornmembers.com. I'm introducing a special lifetime membership fee for Capricorn members. This will entitle you to Capricorn radio shows and Capricorn TV interviews. To sign up for the members area, head over to capricornmembers.com, or equally follow the links on capricornradio.com. Hi everybody, and welcome once again to Capricorn Radio. This is your host James Swagger, and today I'm going to be talking to a returning guest, Mr. Klaus Dona. Before I do, just a quick mention for the website. You can go to capricornradio.com, and there you can subscribe for show releases and updates, and you can check out the archive shows as well. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest for today. Hi Klaus, welcome to Capricorn Radio.
Hello James, great talking to you again.
Wow, and here we are again, Klaus. Great talking to you last time. I had a really exciting time talking to you last time, Klaus. Very, very quick hour went in, and here we are again. I wanted to do it justice and do another hour, Klaus, and I think the great thing is the wealth of knowledge that you have, Klaus, for these unusual artifacts, these out-of-place artifacts, and you seem to have pioneered this genre of research, Klaus, where everybody else has, I think, either not wanted to do it, forgotten about it, or not allowed to do it because of pressures in their own academia. I guess before we do that, Klaus, tell us about you. There'll be new listeners today. Tell us about you, what you do, Klaus, how you got into this, and everything about yourself.
I started in the late 1980s with my own company. I organized a cultural exhibition from Austria mainly to Japan. 1991 I started with the first one, a very big exhibition about the glory of the House of Habsburg. That's our Austrian and European history. It was a big success in Tokyo. And later on, altogether, I did over 28 cultural exhibitions. And one day I had the idea, because I was a big skeptic, maybe I should try to bring some of these so-called U-parts or out-of-place artifacts to Vienna into an exhibition. And with my friend Reinhard Habeck, we started the planning around 1998. And in the year 2001, we could show over 450 strange artifacts from all over the world. And we did some scientific researches on them. And fortunately, we could not even one time found out that one of the artifacts was new done or a fraud. So I got more and more interested in this work. And since then, since 2001, I traveled a lot around the world, and I saw many private and museum collections, many strange artifacts. I got many informations from people all over the world, and now it's getting more and more interesting with the help of a good friend of mine who invented a new technology to scan over areas, and we are now searching strange archaeological places worldwide.
Wow, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was my next question, because there's a lot of different techniques for dating, Klaus. Maybe just tell us about some of the different techniques, the traditional techniques for dating, and then some maybe new techniques that are out there now, and maybe some of the problems with the traditional techniques and some of the exciting new ways that we can use new techniques.
Yeah, I heard about new technology which is invented by Swiss scientists. What I heard, it would be possible to age date also stone material, which would be the most interesting thing for me, because the only thing which we cannot age date is not organic material, meaning stones. And most of the real unexplainable artifacts which I saw, they are made out of stone, because stone is one of the very rare materials which does not change the surface. So many unknown writings from South America to North America, Europe, Asia, and even Australia shows us unknown writings. And of course, these artifacts are not accepted by the official science, because some of them are saying this writing is a mixture of different systems, different writings. But I think why it could not have been one of the oldest writing itself. And there was one German man, unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, Kurt Schildmann. He was the president of the German Linguistic Society, and I sent him several pictures, photographs of different stones from different countries, and he identified them as the same writing. For example, pieces from Ecuador, Colombia, from Burroughs Cave in United States, Clausel, France, and he told me that he did not translate this writing but decipher, and it has a close connection to the Indus Valley writing from Mohenjo-Daro, and also to the Rongo-Rongo plates from Easter Island. So it's very interesting, and his translations were also very strange, because the translation was talking about big catastrophes, that explosions, flying objects, and this is for me one of the things we still have to do a lot of research on it.
For sure, Klaus, totally. I totally agree. I think a lot of the problems with the archaeological field is that they carbon date the organic matter in the ground, and then they find an artifact that's been buried, and then they assume that the buried artifact was created at the time it was buried in the ground, which is, it's a very big assumption, and it's most likely wrong a lot of the time. Just because you find something buried doesn't mean it's going to be the time it was created, no?
First of all, but also, for example, one example in Sardinia, I was 2 times there, and a private research team brought me to several of these very big stone towers called nuriages, and the archaeological dating is approximately 1,800 to 2,000 years, because in and around these nuriages they found some ceramics which they used for age dating. But exactly as you said before, it doesn't say that the pieces which were found in or around these nuriages are exactly from the people who built these big stone monuments, and I think they are much, much older. And we did a lot of research in Sardinia with this private researching team. They brought me really to incredible places, and finally Adriano Forgione, the publisher of a very, very good Italian archaeological magazine called Phoenix, he was with me one time, and later on he showed me some photographs which he got from his friends outside a harbor in Sardinia, about 20 meters under the sea level. They found some so-called giant tombs. So that means these giant tombs cannot be built while there was water. That means it was still dry land at the time, which I think goes back most probably up to 12,000 years.
Yeah, the Nuriagas, they're like, they call them protection towers, but they're not really protection towers. I think there's a lot of astronomy. I look at the astronomy of these buildings. There's the archaeoastronomy of the Nuriagas are quite sophisticated.
It's definitely, and as I told you, this private researcher team, they went to the most important ones several times a year, always at the winter solstice, summer solstice, at specific morning and evening times when the sun was rising and going down. So they did a lot of research, and finally you can definitely say that some of these Nuriagas were definitely archaeoastronomical buildings.
Yeah, I as well as that, I mean, I have another place in Ireland, Klaus, and they call it a fortress or a protection place, and I don't agree, because it doesn't. It's a simple excuse to explain a building. I think the Noriagas have only one way in and out. There's only one doorway, and that's not
exactly, and that wouldn't be a perfect place for protection.
Yeah, I've got another place here. I mean, it's not high enough. You can see it for miles away, so it's going to draw attention. There's only one way in, one way out. It's like, it doesn't make sense, and it's, I wonder with archaeologists sometimes, I don't want to put archaeologists down, but sometimes they come up with these excuses and, they're not very good. I mean, engineers or, logistic people, they should be the people that make sense of a fortress or not. But
yes, exactly. And if you just think, if I would like to protect me and my family and my people, building a big stone tower, no windows, just one door to go in and out, I mean, that wouldn't be a really perfect place to protect someone, because if they just put fire at the entrance, they smoke you out.
Simple. It's a simple, easy way to get you out.
Yeah.
I've got a whole list of artifacts here, Klaus, to talk about. I mean, where do I start? I mean, I think one very important one I want to bring up is the Viking glass lenses that you've looked at. Tell us about these. Not a lot of people I know talk about these.
The glass lenses, I personally did not yet research on it, because what I know from other researchers, that they found these glass lenses in the northern Europe, but also in Egypt and several other places. This is not one of my special area of research yet. Of course, one day it comes also that I have to visit some of these places and look at those lenses. But I think they had already lenses thousands of years ago for whatever they used it for reading or whatever. I don't know exactly.
I don't even know if the Vikings made them. I think they might have taken them off some other group of people and stole them or acquired them or something.
Could be, because we don't know yet exactly where on which places the Vikings really were traveling, because it's the same with the Egyptians. Nobody would ever think until now that the Egyptians even went to Australia approximately 4,500 years ago. No official scientists would agree with this. But you know that Stephen and Evan Strong in Australia, they did a lot of research on a stone wall with over 300 very old Egyptian hieroglyphs. And the translation was saying that there was the second son of Cheops or Khufu was bitten by a poison snake and died, and they buried him there. And they couldn't find any place like a grave, so they asked me if we can help them doing a scan over the area. We did the scan, and we found far behind the stone wall with the rock formation with the hieroglyphs, we found a tunnel which is directing to the hieroglyphs, and a little bit before the stone wall, we also saw on the scan a room with bones and gold inside, and that means that it's definitely an important grave. And when I sent them the scan, the following weekend they went to this area, and they checked the place, and they definitely found the entrance, and they sent me some photographs showing a man-made tunnel, which was blocked after approximately 8 to 10 meters by man-made stone blocks. And I asked them if they had an earthquake in this area, and they told me that in the 1970s there was a heavy earthquake in this area. And for me, I think it was a grave robbery trap, which was broken down through the big movement at the time of the earthquake.
Wow, sure. Yeah, there's a big giant star map there located above the glyphs as well, which is really exciting, because the good thing about that is, again, the faithful science of astronomy can be used to help date things. And
very important would be if they are able, with the help of a geologist, to open this tunnel and going into the room of the grave, because if there are bones, and we know that there are bones, it would be easy to take one piece very carefully and try to do a DNA analysis, and also, most important, an age dating.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exciting times, Klaus, there.
Oh yeah. And there are several other places we showed them in Australia.
Wow, fascinating. What is the Australian authorities then? Have they said anything? Are they staying quiet?
No, for the official authority, the hieroglyphs are a fraud, made approximately in the 1970s, 1980s, but Stephen sent me a document from a lady which she already approved, that she was in the 1958 with her father in this area, and she saw already the hieroglyphs. And the next thing what I think is, if I make over 300 hieroglyphs in a rock, which is quite a hard and long time work, on a place where most probably never ever a person would pass by. I mean, there is no logistic point behind it, logical point.
Yeah, for sure. You've looked at stone circles down in South Africa too, where not a lot of people would have recognized them for what they were.
Oh yes, I was 3 times in South Africa together with Michael Tellinger. We visited some of these very, very interesting stone circles. For the official archaeologists in South Africa, these are cow storages, because many cows, when they are on the field where there are stone circles, they are going inside the stone circles for sleeping overnight. And Michael Tellinger found out with scientists that these stone circles are creating sound and heat. That means in the nighttime it's much warmer inside the stone circles than outside, and normally animals, they have much more sense than we human do have. They feel the warmness inside, and of course they go inside, and there are 100,000s of stone circles. The question is, where are the buildings of the people who lived there? Where are the buildings for the people who owned all these? There must have been millions of cows and stone cow storages. With some of them, they don't have an entrance, so it would be quite difficult for the cows climbing over the rocks inside the stone circles as a storage. So, I mean, there should be much more research on these stone circles, and Michael is doing a lot, but he would need definitely official science to help him.
Sure. Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of astronomy incorporated into these stone circles in South Africa, and Michael's like a lone voice down there for a long time. I had Michael on the show recently as well. Lovely guy, Michael.
Oh yeah, a wonderful man and a very, very serious researcher.
Very serious and very passionate about what he's doing, and that's great. I think, if he hadn't got that steady head and the passion, I mean, everybody would have given up long ago. But I mean, yeah, he's like a lone voice there with the stone circles, and hopefully he's getting a lot of recognition for it in South Africa now.
Oh yes, I meet him in about 3 weeks. I meet him in Germany on a conference, and I'm happy to talk with him again, because I'm quite sure in the meantime he got much more information.
For sure. Wow, another thing I like about what you've did with the pyramids and the Lost Pyramids documentary that you did, presentation, was the Mongolian pyramids. And I hadn't been aware of the Mongolian pyramids. So this is what I love about what you do, Klaus, is you assimilate the data and put the collection of information together and presentations, and people like me or other people, just maybe there's one little piece of information we haven't heard before, and this is what I love about what you do, Klaus. And I wasn't aware of the pyramids in Mongolia, but tell us about these. They're very, very fascinating, and then tell us about some of the artifacts that are associated with it.
I got from a Chinese archaeologist, I got photographs and a description of these looks like pyramids. But it says that it was done in, let's say, about approximately 1,500 years ago, and that the people living there were destroyed by Genghis Khan. He conquered the whole country, and he destroyed a lot of the archaeological places there. And what the history says, that he killed all people living there. But a few weeks ago, I got a very, very interesting email from a Korean artist living in Munich, and she sent me some pictures and a story about a Korean researcher. He's also an artist, but since many, many years, he is studying the jade figurines found in this area and also in the area of Korea. These are 30 up to 50 centimeters high jade statues, figurines. Many of them very strange looking, with animal heads and human bodies. And these jade figurines are black painted, and they tried to find out what kind of color they used. Until now, they don't have a final result. And this Korean researcher is doing a lot. He wrote a fantastic, very big, heavy book. He sent me one with fantastic photographs of these artifacts. And his research and the research of Korean scientists is saying that these pieces were made approximately 8,000 years ago, if not longer. For me, interesting is also from a private family, a private collector in Macau. I got about 3 years ago fantastic photos of smaller jade figurines, where the scientists are saying it's from the Chinese culture. And also the age is going back at least 4,000 years. And in this family's ownership, there are many of those pieces already in their family ownership since over 200 years. That means no new made or fraud, definitely. And there is one bronze statue also, about 30 centimeters high. And when I saw this picture, I thought it's a mistake. They sent me a picture of an Egyptian piece, because this bronze statue looks exactly like Isis, the Egyptian goddess. So I wrote them an email back, and they confirmed that it was also found in this area where the jade figurines were found. So very strange, and for me it could be another approval that it might be connected to the legendary sunken continent Mu.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure.
And interesting also these new, what I got, the new photographs, and I received from the Korean artist already over 200 different photographs of those pieces, and they are black painted. So if you look at the Easter Island, the moais are also made out of black material, black stone, volcanic stone. So very interesting. Why black? And again, in South America, one of the most interesting collection from Professor Gutierrez, the stone pieces like the genetical disc and many other pieces, they are made out of black stone of Lydite. It's always black. It's very strange.
It's about that embryo disc or the genetic disc. This is fascinating. This one really has my attention, Klaus.
Oh yeah, it is. For me, it is one of the most interesting pieces that I ever saw until now, because you can see on this. We called it genetical disc because you can see fetus on different age stage, and you can also see spermias and human egg with and without spermia. That means whoever made these pieces, he must have been able to see the human spermian and human egg with and without spermia. I mean, you can only see it with a very good microscope. And the most interesting is we did material checkings when I received these pieces before our exhibition 2001. I received some of the pieces for material check, and I brought these pieces to the Natural Historical Museum, to the Department for Mineralogy, and the professor there, she made the checkings, and she confirmed that these pieces are made out of Lydite. And then my friend, he was the expert on stone and precious stone work, Dr. Rudolf Distelberger, who passed away unfortunately about 3 years ago. He did a check also on these pieces, and he told me, I am happy that I am also here at the Natural Historical Museum, and I see the result. I see that there was a material testing done, professional, and otherwise I wouldn't have believed that these pieces are made out of Lydite. And he said, when he checked the pieces, he said, I do not know who made it, how they made it, when they made it, but the only thing I can tell you, from the same material, we would not be able to do the same pieces in our days. That means the genetical disc was already found outside Bogota when there was street work done in the 1970s. So at that time, even there was no laser technology so far to do. Maybe with laser, he said, it could be a possibility. But he was not sure. So at that time, it wouldn't have been possible to do. So all these pieces are found in Colombia, and they do not have any connection to any known pre-Columbian culture. That means officially the oldest pre-Columbian culture goes back 4,000 to 6,000 years, is the Valdivia culture. They are in Ecuador, in the area of Valdivia, and there they found ceramics, which age dating goes back at least 4,000 years. And again, there is a nice connection for me, because I saw in Japan many pieces, ceramic pieces, terracotta pieces from the Chomon culture, which also goes back approximately 6,000 years. And James, there are some vases or pots, and if you put the Ecuadorian together with the Japanese, Chomon and Valdivia, it's very difficult or maybe impossible to find the difference, because the design is the same, the art of making is the same. So also for me, there must have been a connection between Japan and South America already thousands of years ago. And then we look to the big stone buildings, stone monuments, like in Cusco, in Sacsayhuaman, and then you go to the South Islands of Japan, to Yonaguni, and there they found also about 25 meters under the sea level these big stone buildings, man-made stone monuments.
Let's talk about Yonaguni, because we're in Japan at the moment. Let's talk about Yonaguni. I've looked at Yonaguni for a long time now, Klaus, and I've looked at Graham Hancock's footage. I've looked at many. There's a recent diver went down again for the BBC, and every time I look at it, Klaus, I cannot believe that nature did that. I cannot believe. I know that Dr. Robert Schock has gone in and had a look too, and he doesn't like it, but he's a geologist. But then, yes, geology can do some of it, but I can't believe for a minute that geology did all of that. It's too. There's also faces that looks like that are carved there as well.
What I heard is that Dr. Robert Schock only was diving one time, and he is not a really good diver, so maybe he could not have seen very well all the areas. Could be, because when you look at the documentations on the pictures, and I spoke several times with Dr. Masaaki Kimura. He is the underwater geologist doing all the researches since a long time ago, and even in nowadays he is researching there. And he showed me other pictures which are not published yet. And if you look at these pictures, it's impossible that nature is doing that, because of course I saw fantastic stone areas, many pictures from a very good friend and top geologist here in Vienna at the university, which looks, first of all, it looks like man-made, but finally there is a definite explanation how nature created it. Okay, but if you look at Yonaguni, there are steps, so that means stones must have broken away to be natural. But then these broken away blocks must lay around this monument. But there are no blocks. So it's clean and steps. And of course the steps are higher than for people with our size. So that was the next negative thing from the official science, that they said the steps are much too big for human. So next question from my side would be, do we know if those people had the same size like we do? Or were these the so-called mystical giants, which you find the stories about giants all over the world?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah, let's get into giants in a minute. I mean, just on Yonaguni, I think Dr. Robert Schock made a lot of his analysis by comparing stuff on land. I mean, and that, I think a lot of the visual features that he didn't get to see are properly, you'd need to do a lot of dives there. And I think Graham Hancock admitted that he only...
He dived many times, and he is a good diver. Robert Schock was not used to dive, what I heard. So if I did not dive there, and I have to tell you, I would be scared to dive down 25 meters, and it's not easy because there is a big movement of the sea there, so it's quite dangerous also. So I personally, if I would dive there, maybe I would not be concentrated enough to look like usually professional looking. Because when you are scared, you are more concentrated on yourself that no accident happens. So maybe that's the reason why he did not see all the places with his really geological eyes.
You know, there's been a lot of sunken cities off the coast of India as well, and just looking at Hancock's work there as well. That's fascinating as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a serious researcher, and he's looking at the places several days, not only one day. You have to be sure, you have to take your time, you have to be on the spot for a longer time, not only diving one time and that's it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I had James Churchward on the show talking about his grandfather's work, Jack Churchward's book, The Lost Continent Mew, which was great. That's since the last time I spoke. Have you contacted with Jack Churchward?
Oh yes, I'm in contact with Jack Churchward.
Wow.
And his great-grandfather did really a fantastic work.
It's a great book, and it's a great book to review, and there's a wealth of information in there, Klaus.
Oh yeah, and what I loved when I found out he wrote about William Niven. William Niven, he was a British mineralogist, but he lived later on in the United States, and he went down to Mexico searching for new minerals. And finally, he ended up in archaeological excavations, and he found in the Valley of Mexico, under 3 layers, 3 different cultures, and the most advanced was the deepest one. And over this deepest civilization, there was a volcano layer. That means the last eruption of this volcano in this area is approximately 10,000-12,000 years ago. So that means that civilization must have existed already there around 10,000-12,000 years. And the fantastic thing is that he found hundreds of clay tablets with many of the same symbols which Churchward saw on the Arhcaeo plates in India. The Arhcaeo plates, that's what James Churchward was writing. He was in India, and he got friend with monks of a temple, and they showed him some metal plates with unknown writings and symbols on it, and later on they translated these writing, and it was talking about the continent Mu. And from that time on, he was searching the history or the story, what is really reality, and he did a lot of good researches, and finally he also was drawing a map how the continent Mu would have looked like. And these informations were on the so-called Arhcaeo plates, and later on he traveled also to Mexico, and he got friend with William Niven, and he checked also these hundreds of clay tablets in Mexico. And now we have the Easter Islands, we have Hawaii, we have Nanmandol, many of these places, of these islands in the Pacific Ocean, with big stone buildings, stone monuments. So we did a research also with the new technology, with this scan on the Easter Islands. And James, I can tell you, we are trying now to get a contact with the archaeological group, which is doing now the excavations of some of the moais, because they are going much, much deeper into the ground, and there are fantastic photos already on the internet showing that how big the moais really were, how deep their body is underground, that there are symbols and unknown writings on their back, on many of them. And we try to get in contact with this archaeological team because we could show them some places where we know that there is much more than they know until now. And that would be for us a very good approval. Maybe it could help to approve the story about the sunken continent Mu.
I was talking to Brian Forster as well, and Brian thinks there's evidence of a cataclysm there, that the mudslides came in and buried these guys. That, you know, just basically a layer of mud and watery mud came in and just filled these guys up. That's why there's only so much of the head sticking above ground.
That could be. But we found other places which could give us a much better explanation when they would do some excavations on places we could show them.
Mm-hmm. Wow, the writing on the back of them is fascinating, Klaus. I hadn't heard that. Yeah, because we have the Ronga script there. That's very, very similar to the Mohenjo-Daro. I think there's like 15 characters that are the same. It's so... It's above coincidence, so far beyond coincidence. Like.
Yes, that's what Kurt Schildmann also told me, and he wrote it also in his book. The similarity, because between the unknown writing we found on stones connected with Mohenjo-Daro and Easter Island writing. I mean, these are not coincidences.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can accept a little coincidence, but the excuse of a coincidence has been used many times in archaeology. It's lame. It's not even satisfactory anymore. Like, I think all around the world, Klaus, now, and this is what's happening. We have a global research program, mostly alternative archaeologists or alternative historians like yourself. You know, alternative researchers, these are the people driving this global research at the moment. You know, I often wonder what we would be like without the internet, Klaus. I mean, we couldn't do shows like this for a start, but I mean, we couldn't be able to do research without the internet, you know, and I think in the last 20 years, the internet has blossomed in this research.
And this helps, of course. It helps a lot because, as I said at the beginning, I get many informations from different countries. They ask me what I think about it. Of course, I inform them when they send me some photos. It would not be serious to do some explanation on just looking on photos. I think it's always necessary to be on the spot, to look carefully with your own eyes and try to find out. And the next one is, since 2001, when we had the exhibition in Vienna, until now, it changed a lot, James, because 2001, when we had all these pieces here in Vienna, I contacted television companies in Germany, the Austrian television. Nobody was really interested in filming these pieces. But in the last years, so many new documentations are coming up on History Channel, on Discovery Channel, on National Geographic even. So now I think the time is ready that a lot of official archaeologists are changing their mind, and I have already contact with some professional, real good archaeologists, and they also told me it's time now to look more and more also on those places and on those artifacts.
Mm-hmm. For sure, I think you're right. I mean, the awareness of everything was changing, and especially in the last 20 years of research, so much has happened. More has happened in the last 20 years than the last 200, Klaus.
Oh yeah. And especially, look, a few years ago, if you would have talked officially about a culture, high civilization 10,000 years ago, everybody would have laughed at you. Look at Göbekli Tepe. This is an approval that a really advanced civilization was living there 10,000 years ago. So now, from 6,000 years, the oldest advanced civilizations Now we are already going up to 10,000 years, and believe me, not in a not long time, it will be maybe 20, 30,000 years, like the age datings of organic material at the Bosnian pyramids, which are still also not officially recognized as pyramids. So now the age dating is going back and back and back, and who knows when we end up. I think it could be even millions of years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to get into some of that as well about the petrified fruits. I'm going to jump to that in a minute, but yeah, I think you're right though, Klaus. I mean, the Göbekli Tepe was very necessary to find that because, that gave us something solid, something concrete. We can now put it to rest and go, okay, don't worry about it anymore. There was somebody here, an advanced civilization, 10,000 BC. They had complex circles, 15, 20-ton stones at Göbekli Tepe, all arranged in geometric patterns. They had exquisite art, carvings, some sort of writing. So, there was somebody there in 10,000 BC. We can now just say, look, we have something tangible. We have something rock solid now.
Oh, yeah. But it arises a problem. A missing link between the advanced civilization 6,000 years and 10,000 years. So now we have already a big missing link of 4,000 years. What was in between?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even what was before?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just on the artifacts, what about the Luddite tools as well? I meant to mention them. These, they look like for delivering babies or something?
Yeah, these are the same findings like the genetic disc.
Wow.
In Colombia.
Yeah. When I see the working of the Luddite tools and the way they're exquisitely carved, Klaus, I'm an engineer and scientist. That's what I do, Klaus. And this is why I love, because I peer back into history with an engineering eye, an engineering mind, and I look at the sophistication of how these Luddite tools are carved, the working of stone. They were able to work very, very hard stone, Klaus.
Yeah, but the problem with Luddite is that it is very hard, nearly the same hardness like granite, but it's the structure of this Luddite is like leaves, so it would not be possible doing the same pieces in our days, because so fine. You remember the pictures of the little tiles, what I think were used for medical purpose. I think so. So they are so small, so fine, so precise done. Each one is exactly, how to say, the golden, how you call it in English? Geometrical, if you do something precise, geometrical wise.
Geometry? You mean?
Yeah, no, I can show you because Professor Gutierrez, he did a research on these pieces, and each one is so precise.
Analysis, yeah, geometric
done. It's just impossible to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And another good example in Egypt, in the Cairo Museum, you have these vases with a very tiny neck, the little tiny neck on the vase, and there's a tiny little hole, but the vases are carved out of extremely hard materials, polished, and how do they carve the inside of the vase when there's a tiny little neck? So, it's totally fascinating for me, the way they were able to work stone, Klaus. This is the thing that gets me as an engineer. Tell me about this other little artifact, Klaus. This one has a tiny steel ball, or it's chromatic steel inside it, and this.
I talk about the so-called nomolis.
Mm-hmm.
These are stone pieces found in Sierra Leone, by Professor Pittoni, an Italian geologist. He was working there for diamond mining company, and they found in different layers, they found stone statues. Some of them made out of sandstone, and some of them made out of granite. Some of them small, but other ones up to half a meter, 50 centimeters. And they are showing like a black African riding on an elephant, for example, but the size of the black African sitting on the elephant would be the size of approximately 7-meter guy on an elephant. Other ones are half reptile faces, reptile heads, and human bodies. And the most interesting one is a small one made out of sandstone, and there was a hole in the body, in the area of the stomach, and inside was a small metal ball. And it was closed so perfectly that when Professor Pitoni found this artifact, while digging for diamonds, it was as a geologist, he always took immediately organic material from the area around these pieces, and the age dating of the organic material next to this small statue was 12,000 years. 17,000 years. So, when I had this piece in the exhibition 2001, we also brought the metal ball, the little metal ball, to the Natural Historical Museum, do it for a material check. And next day, the professor called me and she said, Mr. Dona, I think somebody did a bad joke on you. I said, why? She said, because the little ball you brought me yesterday for a material check is chromatical steel. And chromatical steel was found in Austria at the beginning of the 20th century, 1904, I suppose. So somebody made a joke on you. So immediately I called Professor Pitoni and I said, Professor, now we have a problem because I did a material check on the little metal ball which was inside the sandstone statue. He said, oh yeah, what material is it? I said, that's the problem, it's chromatical steel. So it was made first time in 1904. So he was laughing and he said, Klaus, I'm not stupid. When I found this statue and I didn't see that there was a closed hole in the stomach, in the body, I was just wondering why there is a strange noise when I am shaking this little statue. So he did X-rays from all sides, and on the X-rays he could see the hole. He could also see where there was once an opening but perfectly closed again, and he could see a round thing, something round inside the stomach. So then he called a specialist from the museum and he asked him to open this hole watching the X-ray picture. And when they opened it, they found this little metal ball inside. So 17,000 approximately, or just if it is 1,000 years, it would be already sensational, but over 10,000 years and the chromatical steel ball inside, this is really one of the big mysteries.
We're going to pause it there. We're at the top of the first hour. To catch the second half of this show, why not head over to Capricorn members area for the full MP3 archive at capricornmembers.com, and you can follow all the links for the show on capricornradio.com. This is your host James Swagger signing off.